In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how I made my 2B sword from an existing katana prop from Amazon. So it was really simple. I went ahead and used the existing hilt to make that little paper pattern you see right here, and then transferred onto 1/2 inch EVA foam. I like using X-Acto blades to cut these things out. I recommend it being very sharp, otherwise it will turn out a little bit rough around the edges, but I will show you a trick to solve that if that does happen to you, like it happened to me in this video actually. As you can see, I'm kind of struggling to get that EVA foam cut properly, and that was my mistake. I should have used sharper blades. I then cut a small hole in the center, about, I want to say, 1/2 inch to 1 inch in length, so that it can slide over the sword hilt, or the sword blade when we add it back on. For those rough edges, I like using a Dremel just to kind of smooth it out. Obviously, if you are very careful with cutting out, you could avoid this step, but I was not, so this is a solution for everybody else who is impatient and couldn't be bothered to find her knife sharpener. And even if you don't have rough edges, this is also a nice way to kind of smooth it out and make it a little bit more professional looking if you have the extra time. Yeah, there it is. Next up, I traced on a little design from that I saw in one of the reference pictures, and then I went ahead and made surface cuts on all those lines. This took a little while. Obviously, the longer you take on it, the better it's going to look. I was kind of rushed because this was a very last minute cosplay, and it was OnlyFans and Patreon exclusive photo shoot, so I decided to be a little bit lazy, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm still really happy with how it turned out. I then repeated it on the other side with the same exact pattern because I couldn't find any reference pictures of the bottom of the hilt, so I just assumed that it was the same. Next up, you're going to take a heat gun and take it to those lines, making sure to move it around plenty so it doesn't burn any spot. That's going to open up the lines, make them a little bit deeper. As you can see, they're being a little bit more 3D dimensional. If you want to be extra detailed, I recommend maybe going in with some extra layers of craft foam or not, but for just a really basic one, this works. Next up, I primed it with some Plastidip. You can also use Mod Podge or white glue for this. I like Plastidip though, because it doesn't get caught in little cracks like Mod Podge does. After it was primed and completely dried, I went ahead and with a silver coat of spray paint. I think I did only about 2 layers of that. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the foam for the surface of the sword itself. I just used regular craft foam in the color that I already wanted, and I made that little pattern out of paper. It's really simple. I just held the blade up to the paper to kind of trace it onto it, and then made the little shape at the top. If you don't have the black craft foam, you can also just paint it. but I didn't feel like painting it, so I just went ahead and used the same color that I wanted the end product to have. Next up, I kind of worked on the little detail that's at the very end of the sword. I just used some white embroidery thread, but you can use any sort of white thread, and made it, did a bunch of loops, and then kind of kept the top open, and then if you can see, it's kind of hard to describe in words, but I just kind of made a little knot at the top and wrapped it around a few times, and then cut the bottom so that they weren't looped, and it was just like a bunch of strings. And then I went ahead and put on the hilt. It just slides right down and fits into place. That's one of the really nice things about those swords that you get online. I went ahead and then added the detail to the hilt. For it, I just used hot glue, but you can use any sort of adhesive that you like. Contact cement, hot glue. Hot glue was just the fastest option for me. Sorry, I'm a little off screen as usual. I always think I'm in the center and then I'm not. So, yeah. I'll try next time. And as you can see, I kind of sandwiched the sword in between the two pieces of foam so that it was the same design on both sides. Also, if your sword isn't already silver, like mine was bronze at the very end, you're going to want to go ahead and paint that silver and any of the spots that are supposed to be silver. I just used some reference pictures to figure out what spots need to be painted, and went ahead and just did that on the existing katana. Same thing if the hilt is not the same color, you want to go ahead and make that change before you add any of these. Then I went ahead and just took some white ribbon and wrapped it around the hilt or the blade, giving it that white detailing, and glued it down. Then I just used some white paint to paint on that little weird triangle shape that they have on the hilt. It wasn't perfect, obviously. If you want a really detailed one, you can easily take a little bit more time, but once again, I was in a bit of a crunch. So it was a very lazy snake painting. Then to attach the little detail at the end of the hilt, I went ahead and I just used some craft foam on a little ring. I forgot to take a picture, do video of that, but I just put the little end decorative piece on a keychain ring, and then I went ahead and attached it with craft foam, and then painted over the craft foam with some silver paint to make sure it matched the end of the hilt. Okay, and that's the sword. It's super easy. Obviously, you can make it a lot more detailed if you want, but that's how I made it, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you. Okay, bye.